Hey everyone, it's Sundays with Timmy XJW. I haven't quite decided what I want to make the title of this video. Probably going to focus still more on social guilt because, like I said in my previous video, when I talked about the bite model, it really caught my attention. Like I said before, Jehovah's Witnesses obviously don't use all of the bite model techniques. If you are new here, you can watch it, get an idea. The other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have made videos on this before. Jehovah's Witnesses don't use all of the techniques of it, but they use quite a bit of it to the extreme, more than the Mormons do. And the Mormons religious cult, they'll disfellowship them, but you can at least communicate with someone at least once or twice a year. So I've been wanting to get in this for a while now. I haven't gotten around to talking about it yet. I mean, I've talked about being disfellowshipped, being shunned by my family and friends, what they believe, their propaganda, and now the bite model. I want to get into this a little bit more that a lot of people probably aren't aware of. I mean, obviously my ex-Jehovah's Witness friends who are watching this are aware of this, but like I said, it's still going to be focused on more about the social guilt. Again, when I learned about social guilt, it really sat with me more, and I wanted to address it more to people. For those who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses in any way, obviously. So, like I've said before, I was first generation Jehovah's Witness only because of my mom and dad. And, granted, for about 20 years or so, my stepmom now. But, she was always a Jehovah's Witness. Anyway, so how this works, and a lot of people aren't aware of this who, again, have little to no knowledge about them. If a child is spiritually fading away, the parent will find a way to socially guilt trip the child into staying with them as much as they can. Because they think they're doing the right thing, but again, they're not, because that's how their mentality works. That's how they use social guilt on their children. I'll give an example. And for my family members that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses who decide to like to stalk and watch my videos, which that you have been for a while, and you know who you are, I'll leave an example. So, a parent is a Jehovah's Witness, a mom or dad or both. Then they have a child or two that decides to fade away, or even all of them, however amount of kids they have. They decide to fade away. So, they do that. They leave. They technically become disfellowshipped. And then, when the ex-member in that family who left and have children that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, obviously in any way, I guess it depends how serious the parents do it, but some parents will go as, or at least now that they're grandparents, will go as far as obviously trying to get to the grandchildren to try to convert them because they're so young and so vulnerable, and they'll find that mentality to try to convert them to be with them instead of be with their own flesh and blood. They'll think they're doing the right thing, but they're really not, because of how they like to socially guilt trip everybody as much as they can. So like I said, people who have little to no knowledge, that's how they do it. They will only communicate with the ex-member of that child that they gave birth to, and then obviously the ex-member who gave birth to their children. Like I said, the only reason they'll have little to sort of communication is to try to continue talking about trying to convince them to come back. Like I said, it depends how serious the parent is in the Jehovah's Witnesses. As I mentioned in my previous videos, I used to constantly fight with my dad about this. I didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness in any way, but I was left with no choice. So I grew up, all I knew was guilt and manipulation. Now, granted, like I said, I have a friend I live with who knows how Jehovah's Witnesses work, so he understands what it feels like to be guilt-tripped and guilt-tripped, and manipulated. So, with that, it helped me reflect that it's not because I did it intentionally, it's because it's all I knew from my parents doing it to me, making me feel guilty just because I decided I didn't want to believe what they believed. And they are really heavy on that. Again, like I said, and this goes pretty much to all Jehovah's Witness parents who do this to their kids. For whatever reason, for the smallest of reason that has any independent thinking or anything in that nature, they want them out of the house as young as 14. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people who don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize how bad of an effect it has on the person who left. And it leaves the kid who left feeling socially crippled. It's not an excuse when a lot of us are. We can't help that. It's because, again, a lot of us who were either born and raised or raised in it at a young age because of our parents or whatever reason, it's, again, because of all we know. It's all we know how to be socially guilt-tripped into becoming a Jehovah's Witness. That is one of their favorite tactics that they use on their followers. And then their followers will use it on their ex-members as much as they can. This is something a lot of people, like I said, who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses in any way, don't realize how good they are at doing this. Like I said before in my previous videos, they say that they don't shun people, but that's, again, another way of socially guilting them into believing that, so they could convert them. Again, I can't say this enough. People don't realize how damaging the Jehovah's Witnesses are to society. And again, also, like I said, I am fortunate enough to live with someone who went to seminary for 3 years and know how damaging the Jehovah's Witnesses are. And so does my pastor at this church I go to now. I mean, not an avid goer, and he understands that. No pressure into trying to convince me to come back. Not like what the Jehovah's Witnesses do to their kids. Because they'll do that to their friends or family and all of that. Like I said, if there's a parent or a parent who is a Jehovah's Witness and has kids that are born into it and then wind up leaving, the parents will try to guilt trip them or have no communication at all whatsoever because they're trained to act that way. And then when they find out their ex-member kid has kids themselves, they'll use that advantage only to communicate with them to try to guilt trip their children because they're at a vulnerable state and they don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't realize the effect they're going to put on to them. So that's how it works. So like I said, parents who are Jehovah's Witnesses, kids who are born into being a Jehovah's Witness then decide to leave, then they have kids. The only way the grandparents will talk to the disfellowshipped kid is to get to the child. They won't go around depending on the situation, they'll try to manipulate their feelings, the ex-members' feelings, just to get to the kids. They'll manipulate their ex-members' way of getting around to them just to get to the kids. It depends on the situation, all it really comes down to. And I know a lot of you ex-Jehovah's Witnesses out there who are watching this, or who may be new here, know what that feels like. Thankfully for me, I don't plan on having any kids, and if I did, I'd make sure my kids never met my parents. I'd make sure that they never met them, because they'll find a way to manipulate their feelings into coming back, or try to convince them and convert them to take them away from me. That's what these Jehovah's Witnesses as adults do to their ex-members who may have kids. So that's how their mentality works. That's how their social guilt works, unfortunately. And depending how serious, which unfortunately a good majority of them take, they'll again use that mentality, think they're doing the right thing, but they're really not. They'll try to guilt trip and all this stuff. There are some ex-members who, or a good majority of them anyway, that are really smart in keeping their kids away from their parents because, well, their grandparents, you get the idea. They're really smart in doing that because they've been out enough to realize the lies in the Jehovah's Witnesses. I've seen videos on this before, documentaries and all of that stuff. So that's what I just wanted to talk about. I can't have a conversation with my dad without fighting about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's unfortunate that he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he really isn't, because that's what he's trained to do. And if I have any family members watching this, well, now you know the story, the history, how the Jehovah's Witnesses really work. I just wanted to throw that out there, even for people, obviously, who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are watching this, or even ex-Mormons. I'm starting to talk about Mormons now because I've been watching a lot of videos about the similarities to the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. Telltale also talks about how extreme compared to one religion like the Jehovah's Witnesses are to Mormons. But obviously, granted, my content is about Jehovah's Witnesses because I was born and raised one. So, anyway, I also wanted to throw this out there because I feel like I should just talk about it again anyway, just because for new coming visitors. So, like I said, I faded away 6 years now. It'll be 6 years in March, but I'll just count it as 6. So, like I said before, it's not something I can just permanently forget. I mean, granted, there's some things that I did forget that I learned as a Jehovah's Witness growing up because of my parents. But then there are some things that are just unfortunately going to stay with me till the day I die. Like I said, when you're born and raised a Jehovah's Witness or raised in it at a really young age, and if you're really active, a lot of those memories are instilled in your brain. That's how it works. And like I said, I'm going to throw this out there anyway, especially for the new visitors that are on my channel. Jehovah's Witnesses think they're doing the right thing, but they're really not. They don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize the damage they're doing to society when they're going out, doing all this preaching work they're supposed to be doing. They don't realize they're ruining relationships with family and friends. Anyway, if you've gotten this far in my video, leave a comment. Let me know what you got out of it. I thought I felt like talking about it. I've been actually wanting to, but I never got around to doing it yet. Like I said, leave a comment letting me know you got this far to the end and what you got out of it. Just wanted to talk about it because, again, just felt like doing it. And for my new visitors as well, I made videos before but didn't really, I guess, fit in this subject with social guilt. This is another part series I guess I want to talk about with social guilt. Leave me a comment. What experience do you have with your family? If they still, do they try to persuade you and guilt trip and manipulate you to come back? I'd like to hear it in the comments below. I'm probably going to talk about something else in the next video. Haven't quite decided yet. Probably related toward anxiety and depression. I don't know yet. But anyway, hit that like button if you like this video. Hit the red subscribe button down below. Share this channel around with your friends. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.